Visit Sailrite.com for all your project supplies, tools, and instructions. If you're upgrading your existing sewing machine motor package for the brand new WorkerB Power Pack motor system, this assembly video will show you all the steps that are required.
And what we want to do in this video today is show you how to install it, but I want to show you a couple of different things while we're looking at the parts here. First, you only need 3 additional tools for installation. You need a standard screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, and you need an Allen wrench that fits the hex heads of the motor pulley. You do get one tool with the kit, and that is this special wrench with a 12mm and a 5mm end, and as we go through installation you'll see how it's used. I also want to point out that on the table I'm showing 2 belt covers. Your system will come with one or the other belt cover. The only real difference is the top screw. It either uses a standard screw or this belt cover uses more of a hex head screw for the top position. Other than that, they serve the same purpose. Apart from the motor and the flywheel, this is really the heart of the system. This is the power pack itself, and you can see we have a handy on-off switch. The power cord is disconnectable. There's a light outlet that you can use your Sailrite LED Flex 20 light or something similar. But really what makes this special is you have a top-end speed control dial. So if I only want to sew maximum speed of about half, I set it at the halfway point, and I can't ever go faster than half speed. But I still maintain my variable speed control using the foot pedal up to that maximum speed. It's a wonderful feature. This is one of our latest versions of the machine. But the general process for adding this new system, the WorkerB Power Pack, to any machine is we just have to get a lot of components off of the machine. And by a lot, I mean the existing motor system. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove the flywheel. And you can refer to your guidebook on the machine for how to do all of this if you have forgotten. So I'm going to pull my old flywheel off. I need to remove the belt cover, but I'm going to take off my foot control wiring first. And this might not be exactly the same as your motor setup because we have done lots of different arrangements for this over the years. So if yours is slightly different, the general process is still the same. Belt cover comes off, get my belts out of the way. Now, to remove the housing on pretty much every machine we've ever come up with, I'm going to unplug the light. This one has the light adapter to plug it in back here. I'm going to take that out. But there is a screw here, and there's a screw under here that I'm putting my screwdriver blade in right now. And I'm just going to loosen. Actually, I'm going to remove both of these screws completely. Once it goes loose, I know it's gone. It's not connected anymore. Loosen this one. There we go. Now I should just be able to grab the whole housing and pull it off. And really the only difference over the years has been how do we attach the motor to this housing? Is it directly secured to the backside? Is there a bracket that attaches it? And there have been a couple of different bracket styles, but pretty much that's all there is to it. These 2 screws, one here and one here, pull it straight off the back, set it aside. We do need to keep this 8-inch belt with the system because we're going to reuse that, and we must have the jack drive or speed reducer, if you will, here on the butt end of the machine, and it needs to be a 30 tooth on this. So if you counted the teeth, there'd be 30 on the larger gear and there would be 11 on the smaller gear. So 11 to 30 gear ratio pulley. It needs to be that size for this system to work. Again, all Sailrite machines have had this pulley design for many, many years. This is the 8-inch belt that we already said we need to keep. We'll still need our Posi-pin if our machine is equipped with one. We'll still need our nut for the end of the upper shaft bushing that holds the flywheel on. And if we had an 18.6-inch belt, for a larger diameter flywheel like the Power Plus flywheel or the Monster wheel, we should keep that as well, because this system will run with a larger diameter flywheel. This is our new mounting bracket for the system, and basically it attaches to the exact same holes that have always been here, and it just goes on intuitively where it would sit. And then we are going to start. We have two larger screws that come in the package that look like this, and then we are going to start those screws there, like so. Get one started but not snug it up yet. Come down to the bottom one. And I like to let it just rest in the down position, as far down as it wants to sit. There's a little bit of a slot in those holes to allow for some variability and things. And we just want to get that good and tight, because we'll never touch those screws again for this system. And we are attached. Now the motor goes on, and the motor has 4 mounting holes and requires 4 of the smaller screws. We want to put the motor on so that the plate is facing out and the wire is coming out toward the top back as I'm holding it here. And I'm going to get these started. And screw them in place. And I have 4 of these to do. We want to make sure this motor is good and secure on this bracket and doesn't vibrate. Trying to do this so that you can see what I'm doing, but I think it's pretty obvious. I don't tighten any of them until I get them all in. Okay. That looks good. Now, the motor pulley goes on, and there's a flat on this shaft. You can see it there. So you find the flat, arrange one of the set screws for the pulley over the flat, and we want to push the pulley on all the way until it hits the face of the motor, and then back it away 1 to 2 millimeters and tighten one set screw onto the shaft flat. And I'm going to go about 1.5 millimeters or so here. And then we want to rotate, tighten the other screw. And next we are going to, and you can get these good and tight right now, even though you may need to adjust them later, because we're going to then install the belt from the motor pulley to the idler pulley. And once we've done that, then we want to set the final left-right position of the motor pulley so that the belt tracks properly between the 2 pulleys. For purposes of the camera, I'm going to remove the integrated thread stand. You don't need to, but we're going to get it out of the way. Our 8-inch belt will go over the larger gear of the speed reducer and then goes over the pulley. And you're noticing right here I can't get it over the pulley because it's too tight. So, and we are going to have to make some belt adjustments, but I want to get this over the pulley before we do that. So I'm going to take my special wrench that has the 5 millimeter end, put it on the end of the shaft here. And now if yours is a flat, you'll have to use a crescent wrench, but most of the modern ones have this 5 millimeter end. Turn it counterclockwise to loosen it. And doing so, what that does, I'm going to take the wrench off so you can see, it allows me to move this in and out. So now while it's loose, I can move it back far enough that I can get the belt over the motor pulley. And now I can put this back on and I can tighten it and spin this until it's snug, because we're going to have to make adjustments later. So I'm just going to snug it with the belt somewhat tight. That's loose, but that's good enough for now. It won't come off, and that's all I need to make sure of. To install the power pack, we not only need the power pack, but we need 2 more of the small screws, and we will need to remove a plug that holds the ground tab in place so that it won't fall out or vibrate out in shipping. So you simply just grab that plug, and it should actually just pop out by finger. If you need to slip a screwdriver under it, you can. This is actually disposable. It's just for shipping purposes, because you can see how this moves around a little bit. So once that's out, now what I can do, this tab here is going to sit under this tab. So the plastic will be on the outside of the metal. And this tab right here is going to sit on the outside of this tab with the ground tab pinched in between the plastic and the metal. So I'm going to position this like so, and if I have it positioned properly, this will line up. If I don't do this properly, if I put this on the inside, this won't line up. So when you have this set properly on here, you know you will, because this back will line up. Then I'm going to put my screw in and snug this one down. This screw will go through here, and we'll snug it down. And when that one snugs down, it's pressing that ground tab against that oxidized plate, which will ground the whole machine. In preparation of putting the belt cover on, we simply put this belt in the position like this. So it's over the small gear and just hanging over the bushing. Now we'll want to put the belt cover on. And again, remember there are 2 belt covers in use today. If we put this belt cover on, we want to position it as far up as we can so that the screw is in the bottom of the slot. When we use this belt cover, there's no slot, and there's a larger screw with a rubber O-ring. We put the screw with the O-ring, or the shoulder bolt, if you will, with the O-ring in place here, and then we thread this screw into this tab. And we want to thread it in so that it's fairly snug, because the purpose of that O-ring for this particular setup is to allow us to basically pivot the belt cover. Okay. Okay. So we'll pivot that so that it's up and out of the way, and that will allow us then to go to the next step, which is to put the flywheel on. The WorkerB system comes with the WorkerB balance wheel, which is specially engineered for this whole setup. However, we have designed this so that it can be used with your Monster 2 flywheel or your Power Plus flywheel. If you use the Monster 2 or the Power Plus, you simply need to set it up with the 18.6-inch belt. Otherwise, use the flywheel that comes with the package. And the way you want to do this is you want to slip the flywheel on first, just to make sure that you see that it goes on. And you have to wobble it a little bit to get it to go on. And it's a fairly tight fit, because we don't want it to wobble under operation. And when I get it on part way, then I want to take the belt that was already here, and I want to start it at the back of the wheel. To start it while it still stays on the small pulley, we want to start it on this flywheel, move our finger up here toward the front, as I'm doing now, and we'll turn the wheel. And basically we're turning the wheel and pushing it in as I go. And basically what we're doing is we're doing what you would do if you were putting a bike chain on a sprocket. And when we turn it, that belt will pop right on. And you can see now it's tracking properly. This belt went on nicely, and that's actually pretty good belt tension, but it may not always be the case depending upon the setup of your machine. If you can't get that belt started, you may have to move this bracket up or down, up generally to loosen it, using this bolt here. And remember, you've got your special wrench, and it is designed with a 12mm end, and you can see I've got it on there so that I could loosen that and slide the speed reducer up or down, which would, in effect, change the tension on the belt. With the flywheel on, we need to put our Posi-pin nut back on. And then we can put the Posi-pin in the keeper. I'm not going to explain to you how to use the Posi-pin because you should already know how to do that. With the belt cover still not completely on, we don't have the bottom screw in place and it's still tilted back, we should be adjusting the belts. And remember, we had a little bit too loose of a belt here and maybe a little too loose here as well. You've got 2 adjustments again, this and this bolt. So this will allow you to move the pulley back and forth, and this will allow you to move the bracket up and down. And there's really no good scientific way or good process for doing this where you can just be assured that everything's going to work in one smooth flow. You almost have to just keep adjusting things until you get it where you want. I'm going to loosen this, and once I get it loose, I can use a screwdriver to loosen it a little bit faster. And I'm going to push this bracket down in order to tighten the primary belt. And when I have it in a position where I feel like that belt's tight, that actually might work pretty well because that tightened up this belt by pushing this down. And then let's snug this. Oh yeah, that's good and tight there. So let's snug this up a bit, okay? And that actually, yeah, I want a little more tension on this belt. So I'm gonna loosen this. And I'm gonna let that go that direction. It will actually pull it that way. Just the pressure of that other belt pulled it a little bit. So I loosened it, wiggled it a little bit, and I'm gonna tighten it up a little bit. Yeah, and that tightened that up. And that loosened up that belt a little bit. That's pretty good. So let me get this tight, and then I'm gonna show you what it feels like. So I'll get this one nice and tight, okay? Get this one good and tight. Okay, come back and check this one. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Little bit, this feels a little tighter than this, and that's the way it should be. So notice how much I'm able to push this in. That's what you're looking for. And here, I'm looking for it to feel a bit tighter, and you can see how much I'm pushing it in. Okay, now we need to push the belt cover into position. We'll put our thumb up top here to pivot it down, get it around the speed reducer, and then we want to, down here, we want to get this tab over top of that metal tab with the threaded hole. And once we're in position there, we can thread in one more of our small screws. And just get that snug. As a little refresher on the Posi-pin setup, should you have that on your machine, when the Posi-pin is out or in the nut at the end, the flywheel freewheels and the needle does not go up and down. To lock it in, you go into one of the holes in the flywheel until you hit metal, hold lightly until you hit a hole, and then press in until you hear that snap. So just press it in until you hear a snap and then let go. This is a little demonstration tool that I often take to boat shows to show the difference between Sailrite's patented Posi-pin system and what is traditionally seen on home sewing machines or portable sewing machines, which is a compression clutch. Now, a lot of machines that look similar to the Sailrite or even the very older Sailrite version 1 machines have the old compression clutch. So if you're modifying one of those machines to make use of the WorkerB Power Pack system, you can still utilize the clutch system, but I want to show you the differences just so you see what you should expect. So let's take a closer look. Okay, so I'm going to be drawing some reference lines here. So I'm going to draw one here on the shaft and on the bushing. These spots will stay together, but I need to put a piece of tape on the flywheel where that line is. So I'm going to put a piece of masking tape right there as a reference so you can see, and then we'll put a line on it so that it's lined up so you see what I'm saying. So this line corresponds with these lines, okay? Then on the other side, so that's our Posi-pin side. On the other side, I've already got a line marked here, so I'll use that same mark. I'm going to use this line, and then I'm going to put another piece of tape on this flywheel, right, lined up with that mark right there. And I'm going to make a mark here that's in line with that. So you can see these are in line. This is in line. Now, to be fair, let's make sure our traditional clutch is tight. So I'm going to hold the shaft, turn that sucker really tight. Yeah, so I've got it as tight as I can get it. So when I turn it normally with just, notice I'm just holding loose pressure here, it turns the shaft. You can see the crank rod rotating here. Same thing on this end. Hold it with just a little bit of pressure, turn it, and it turns the crank arm. Now, which of these is stronger? The way to tell that is you hold both wheels and then you turn. And either neither will give up and I won't be able to twist it, or one side will give up. And the side that's going to give up is this blue side. So watch it, I'll let you see the marks move. And it gives up easily. See how my marks are no longer aligned? I can easily move them around. But look at this side. No matter what I do, that side never slips. My lines are always connected. So what this is showing is that our Posi-pin system is super positive and the flywheel will not slip against the main drive shaft, whereas a standard compression clutch will. So you will lose, even if you put this system on your machine with a compression clutch, it'll still give you tons more power, but you're going to lose some of it in the friction compression loss between the flywheel and the drive shaft because of this old style compression clutch. And I'm not going to explain how these are set up or how you put them together, but I'm going to take it apart so you can see what a compression clutch is so you recognize it on your machine. So the idea is when I loosen the knob, it hits a stop, and the wheel then should free spin easily because this is what allows for bobbin winding. When I tighten it up, then it should drive the shaft again, which is the way we had it tight before. So if I want to take this off so you can see what's going on, I need to loosen it, and then we need to pull that set screw. Okay, we have a screwdriver now, so I'm going to loosen this screw. You don't have to take it all the way out. As a matter of fact, it's probably better to leave it partially in. Now I can release this knob completely, and you'll see what a compression device is like. There's a star washer under here with two tabs in the center, and those tabs, I don't know if you can see it, they're protruding outward. A lot of people think they need to protrude inward because it stays in better that way. But no, these two tabs need to face outward so that when this surface applies pressure against them, it forces the flywheel, I'm going to take it out, so I'm talking about this more than I thought I was going to. It forces the flywheel, this surface, hard against this flange, and that's the compression that creates the resistance to drive the shaft. Well, you can see how easy that is to slip. It's basically just spring tension applied by these little center spring fingers that forces the flywheel into the flange and keeps it from slipping. Whereas, oh, and by the way, while I'm talking about this, there are two different ways to put this on. You can have the washer this way, or you can have the washer this way. And you need to test which is the right rotation in order to make sure that when you tighten it, that the set screw here doesn't hit one of these outer star washers prematurely and keep you from being able to tighten it all the way. So you have to sort of test it after you put it back together to make sure the rotation is correct. So here I can tell I've got it right now because I know that star washer's right here. And when I set it as tight as possible, I'm still not hitting that washer. So that's in the right position. So I'm going to snug this set screw again. And this should be set right. When I loosen it, wheel should spin freely. When I tighten it, it should lock the shaft. However, as we showed before, compared to our Posi-pin system, it does nothing. It just spins easily. So now why does the Posi-pin system work so much better? It's because you have a pin going through the flywheel and directly into the bushing, which is connected to the shaft. So unless the pin breaks, that sucker's not going to slip. So let me put it right where we had it. So put it back in that hole, wind up, turn that wheel. That side does not spin. This side spins easily. So both can be used with the new flywheel. This new flywheel has a metal core. So this flywheel can work with the compression clutch. You just will still encounter slippage due to the clutch design. Everything's assembled at this point. We just need to start plugging things in. But before we do that, it's always recommended to turn the unit off, which is with the switch down, before you start plugging things in. So first thing we'll want to do is come over here to the flywheel end, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the motor plug and we're going to simply push it into this location on the box. Then we'll need to take our flywheel, I'm sorry, not our flywheel, our foot control, and we have a jack style insertion here, and it goes in, and you want to push it in so that it's flush with the end of the shroud here. And then depending upon which belt cover you have, if you have this one, there's a clip that this can go in. If you don't, you just run it around the backside of your machine and down out. Usually I lift the machine up and run it under a foot and then run it down the front. So something like this, okay? And then run it out the front. So we have our foot control connected. Next thing is to secure the light. And Sailrite's offered a variety of different lights with attachment points on the back of the machine. So utilize whatever you have, but this is where it plugs in. We recommend this outlet be used only for a light. And finally, the power cord goes in. Plug it into the back here, push that in all the way, plug this into your wall outlet, and now you are ready to turn the unit on. You'll notice this turns red. I'm going to disengage the flywheel by pulling the Posi-pin out and putting it in the keeper. I just want to show you that everything is operating, and when I hit the foot pedal, you can see that the wheel turns. Now, I'm going to turn the machine around so it's easier for you to see what's happening here. All right. So we still have our Posi-pin disengaged, and as I was showing you before, it doesn't run very fast right now. The wheel's not turning very quickly at all, and that is because I have this dial set so that my maximum speed is at the slowest possible range. As I turn this dial up, it increases until I get all the way to the maximum, and then you'll notice when I depress the pedal, I have significantly more speed out of the motor and the flywheel. But I still have my variable speed control. I can still go nice and slow, and I can still ramp the speed up very slowly until I get to that maximum speed. Or I can set the machine to about half speed, and I can run, and I can turn this even while I'm running the machine. You can see that this dial is controlling the speed. So I'm holding the foot pedal in all the way, turning the dial to look at the range of graduation of speed control. So if I only want to sew at about 3/4 speed, I can do that easily. It's a beautiful system, very simple to use, easy to operate. Everything is set up. Go back to operating your machine and sewing like you normally would, and please enjoy the new WorkerB Power Pack system. You might be saying, wow, I love this new WorkerB balance wheel, but what do I do about the really nice monster flywheel that Sailrite sold me some time ago, or the plastic version of this called the Power Plus flywheel? Well, they still have a place. Because the diameter of the flywheel where the belt goes is much larger, it's a further gear change. So you won't get the same level of top end speed out of the system, but you will get very, very finite control of your stitch by stitch placement and needle positioning with this larger diameter flywheel. You just won't sew as quickly. So a lot of people are going to want to put this wheel on. So let me show you how to do that. It's really simple. First, we want to remove the WorkerB balance wheel. Remember, this nut is reverse threaded, so I was turning it counterclockwise, or I'm sorry, I was turning it clockwise to loosen it. Indeed, there are arrows on it to tell you to turn it clockwise to loosen it. Okay. Now I want to remove the 13-inch belt. Take my 18.6-inch belt, which was the standard belt that's always been used with the Power Plus or the Monster wheel with the speed reducer, and put that down in, and there's room right here in this cavity to get the belt pushed behind the shaft of the speed reducer so that you can get it in place, and just hook it over top of the bobbin winder like so. Take your larger diameter flywheel and start it on the shaft, and now you're going to install the belt in exactly the same manner. You're going to start it at the back, and you're going to spin it as you push it all the way onto the shaft. And once it's all the way on, we are going to spin our Posi-pin nut back on, and then we can secure our Posi-pin in the keeper. Now I do want to plug this in again. I had it unplugged. I'm going to unplug it in again because I want you to see how that affects the top end speed, but also how it affects the slow speed control. So we're just going to be watching the flywheel, but you should be able to tell. So let's start all the way at slow first. Oop, turn her on. You can see it is significantly slower, but I also have even slower speed control by letting off on the foot pedal. I can get this thing just to creep speed through things. But at the top end, when I turn it all the way clockwise, I will not be running nearly as fast as I do with the WorkerB balance wheel. But it's still, if you really want to go slowly with just the best precision that you've ever seen anywhere, your large diameter flywheel will accomplish that. And you can see the switchover back and forth is very simple. New electronics come with new warnings, and there are a few that we want you to be aware of here. First off is our outlet for the light, 100 watt maximum. So it is intended for a light, and that's what we would prefer you use it for. Next warning is make sure that the unit is off when you are inserting the plug for the foot pedal. If it is not off, there is a point where if you go just slowly enough that you will find a possibility that you could get the machine to run before the plug is pushed all the way in. So make sure the unit's off, push it all the way in, flush with the end of the cover here, and you're in good shape. Final caution is to always use a grounded outlet and make sure that you do not use an adapter without a ground pin, and we don't recommend long extension cords.
Enjoy your new WorkerB Power Pack system. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to email us or give us a call. We're glad to help. I'm Eric Grant, and from all of us here at Sailrite, thanks for watching.